Well, hello. Welcome to my devlog for my roguelike infinite world simulation game slash game engine. Let's see what I was up to this week. I did quite a bit. Um, Overall, I think it was a very productive week. I kind of got over the hump of last week. Last week was just kind of a killer of refactoring stuff as I migrated from straight canvas 2D context graphics to 3GS. This week was more refactoring in that regard, but also just a lot of implementation of kind of new performance features and getting into how I'm going to actually start creating the world and generating entities and so forth. So let's just go ahead and hop right in here. Let's start with the 27th. So the terrain chunks for the big thing for that day. I've been drawing each individual entity and rendering it as its own physics body and its own rendering mesh and so forth. And it was just it turns out you can't get performance out of that. You really have to go to chunking, even on a relatively what I would think is a relatively small world size here, right? Of maybe 4,000 entities or something like that visible on the screen. But there's just you have to start kind of cheating to get performance when you start talking about that number of entities. So my cheat was to start chunking the entities into tiles. So what you see here is that each individual terrain tile is now kind of one big uh, 256 by 256 chunk, and then within that I have each, like for instance here it's the little blades of grass. Those are individual 16 by 16 entities are kind of drawn on that tile. So that was the beginning of the chunking, let's call it. uh, let's see, next day here. Um, so I kind of a further performance thing. It was a thing I knew I was always going to have to do, and eventually, just that day, I decided to bite the bullet and jump in, and that was Webworkers. So I'm now generating uh, all my terrain uh, graphics inside a web worker. And so the interesting thing here is how to get performance out of a web worker with graphics, and it's not uh, as easy as one might think. There's some hoops that one has to go through, and there's some gotchas. There's a lot of gotchas. That would be the thing I would say here. So there's a lot of kind of lessons that I've learned over the past week of how to actually get web workers performing decently without killing the GPU effectively. Um, so another interesting thing I discovered on the 28th was that there's an image bitmap that has a flip Y. Hey, our friend flip Y. It turns out that the 3GS graphics engine can't uh, do the texture canvas flip Y with a image bitmap when it's provided an image bitmap. Um, so you have to use the flip Y on the image bitmap itself, which is a thing. So that's just a gotcha. Be aware of that, I suppose. Let's see. Next up, um, infinite world grid map to an infinite grid screen. So this was how do I explain this exactly? Why this is kind of cool. The Now that I have chunk tiles, I need to be able to have a grid that has negative coordinates. So essentially, I want a world that is gridded according to the center of the world, the center point of the world, right? Which is not the center point of the screen, right? The screen moves around and floats around, and this is chasing the player. And I need to have a way of converting from a grid that where the top left is 0, 0, and it's just effectively an array that you can index. So it's just a single dimensional array, uh, uh, and that's how I've been doing a grid, right? Well, when you start getting into negatives, like negative y and negative x and so forth, yet when your dimensions have negatives, you can't do a single uh, dimensional array to handle all that. And so I had to create a concept of a grid abstraction that can handle the negative x and y coordinates. So I effectively, the way I chose to handle this was to effectively create a big hash map of the coordinates. And that effectively just acts as a key. So, x comma y as a string acts as a key to the index of the hash map. And that more or less solved the problem. And then, of course, there's kind of coordinating, let's say, between these two views of a grid, right? A grid that is a single dimensional array with the upper that's sort of origined from the upper left-hand corner, and a two-dimensional, let's call it, with with negatives. That is that of necessity has to be origined from the center. From 0, 0 is the center of the grid, right? Rather than a top left, because there is no top left in an infinite grid. So, but I have to like coordinate and translate between those two, um, and it works pretty good. I'm pretty happy with this. It took a day to figure all the niceties out, and get it all drawing on screen and so forth. But it was, now that it's one of those things that now I have it, I have it. So worth the time, I'd say. All right, next up. Now that I have all these things, I can have infinite layered terrain. So effectively, I can draw uh, entities uh, of kind of any size that I want on the screen, right? Whether it's 16 by 16 or 64 by 64 or 256 by 256 or what have you. I can choose that sort of arbitrarily as I'm generating entities in this infinite world. And I just say, hey, uh, give me a 16 by 16 tree in this kind of world space, right? And so then I just have, I just sort of gen up a grid that corresponds to that, and then I paint the tiles, right? Each individual. So what you're looking at here, I'm not sure if I show the debug view here, but I believe I'm using a 256 by 256 tile here. And then I had to paint each individual entity on that 256 by 256 tile, and it could be whether it's on a 16 by 16 cell size or a 256 by 256 cell size or 128, whatever it happens to be. So that was a lot of like kind of simple math, but I don't want to say frustrating, right? Because it's just one of those things where you just end up experimenting a lot with like what works and what doesn't work, and what's this weird bug, and how is that not working the way I expected. So it's just kind of frustrating, but got it all done. Let's see. Multiple layer sizes. Why is this not going to the next step? Oh, it's because there's only 30 days in September. So my show off, I need to order the slides by date better here. So this, on the first, which I guess was yesterday, yeah. Now that I feel like that was probably the day when I started having fun again with the project. I would say it's sort of like I'd done enough. digging in the basement to actually, start to see some stuff here. And so again, it's sort of redoing stuff that I've already done in a different way. That's a theme I've sort of discovered as I've traveled along this journey, is that I solve a particular problem in one context, and then as I kind of advance up the next level of game development, let's call it the of the path of game development, I have to kind of resolve that same problem in a kind of more rich environment, right? So I solve Y sorting on a 2D canvas, right? And then I solve Y sorting in 3D space, right? And now I have to solve Y sorting on chunked 3D space, right? Where the tiles are like drawn as big chunks, but then each individual little entity also has to exist, and I also want the Y sorting to work for when the character moves behind the entity that's been chunked, right? So the way I solved that was I effectively have what I call ghost entities. I'm not sure if there's probably a better name for that, but that's the name I'm choosing. Um, that I just add to the 3GS scene graph. Right? Yeah, that's essentially how I'm doing it. Um, Only like just in time, right? So it's only rendered and added to the scene graph if it needs to be there. Effectively, if there's like the character moving in and out behind this tree here, if uh, if the character is behind that tree, boom, uh, we show or we add the tree entity to the scene graph, and it's rendered in 3GS, right? So, and then once the character moves out of uh, position there, the tree entity like gets removed from the scene graph, and so it's not rendered anymore. And so that's it gives me both the performance of kind of chunking the the entities, and then I also get the Y sorting visual uh, niceties that I want for this 2.5D rendering. And so I kind of get to have my cake and eat it too, sort of. So that was kind of fun. It felt good to kind of. It felt like that was a somehow or another that was a it's like it demonstrated that it's all coming together somehow or another. So that was fun. Then today, um, I've re-implemented physics again, right? So I had physics working a couple times before, but now I have to have physics working in this chunked world. And so this is just me kind of demonstrating that, yep, I got it working again. But this is nice, right? Because this is an infinite world with physics, right? So I can't go through these little boxes that I'm generating, infinitely. I could go a million squares to the right or something like that, but still the physics would work and be performant, right? Because it's a similar trick to how I'm doing the Y sorting, where I'm just sort of popping things in and out of the physics world, just kind of as they're needed, and then I kind of get rid of them as soon as they're not needed, and so that keeps the physics. Would you call it physics rendering? You wouldn't call it physics. I don't know. Whatever the physics processing, um, uh, nice and smooth, and it doesn't take very many milliseconds to accomplish. So that was that. So that was today effectively, and so that was a lot. I feel like I got a lot. I feel like I got a lot accomplished this week. I feel like, especially towards the latter half of the week, I got my mojo back. It feels like it, you know, it, I'm having fun again, right, with the development, and I think that was just psychologically a much needed thing to actually have fun with the developments. I was kind of uh, playing with the idea of sort of abandoning this particular iteration of the project and kind of starting anew. Taking the parts and pieces that I like from this project and kind of just starting a new one. Um, but I feel like I've solved enough problems in this particular uh, study. I call these things studies, because they're not. I'm not sure if I'm going to make like a real thing I'm going to publish out of this, or if I'm just playing around with the ideas and concepts and just kind of working things out, right? So that's why I call this a study uh, more than anything else. But that's kind of that's what I was up to this week. And I had some fun, and it was good times. And I feel like next week or probably later today, actually, it's still rather relatively early. I'm going to uh, get into building like buildings and like I feel like I have enough tools now where I can actually start playing with populating the world with entities like interesting entities like buildings or mountain or mine or whatever I want in this little world here. So I'm gonna I think I'm probably gonna focus on generating more content, let's call it, for the game, and see see what troubles arise from that. And I guess that's really about it for this devlog. But anyway, for those that happen to be following us, I appreciate your time and attention, and I will see you next week. Later. Bye.